The Westford copper needles were each 1.8 centimeters long and 0.0018 centimeters in diameter and weighed only 40 micrograms. They were designed to be exactly half of the wavelength of 8,000 MHz microwaves. This length would create strong reflections when the microwaves struck the copper needles, in effect making them tiny dipole antennae, each repeating in all directions the exact same signal they receive. The first attempt at remote communications using the Westford belt was made on the 14th of May, 4 days after the launch. At this point, the dipoles had not completely spread out to fill their entire orbit, so they were much more densely spaced than in their final configuration. Using two 18.5-meter microwave dish antennae, Project Westford engineers managed to send voice transmissions between Camp Parks, California and Millstone Hill, Massachusetts. The voice connection was described as intelligible, and was transmitted at a data rate of approximately 20,000 bits per second, about the speed of a 1992-era telephone modem. But as the needles continued to disperse to their final cloud, the data rate dropped off significantly, so much so that by June 18 only 400 bits per second could be transmitted. On July 2, the experiment was terminated. At this time, the tiny needles were spaced about 400 meters from each other. Despite its technical success, the ultimate goal behind Project Westford was never attained. Serious scientific opposition to the project sprung up almost immediately after it was first proposed in the late 1950s. Though Westford's cloud of dipoles was carefully designed to return to Earth within a few years of its launch, a fully functional cloud dense enough for robust communications might be a permanent fixture of Earth's orbit. Because of the great distance between the tiny needles, the Westford belt was visible only in the first few days after launch, when the spacing was much smaller. A denser belt intended for permanent communications would probably not have been visible except by very powerful optical telescopes. But, at radio and microwave frequencies, the final dipole clouds may have become scars on the night sky, forever obscuring the universe beyond. However, it may not have been the opposition from prominent scientists that finally killed Project Westford's dream. By 1963, communications satellite technology had become more and more capable. Compared to those sleek products of space-age technology, the relatively low-tech Westford dipole cloud was an unsightly dinosaur. However, the Westford engineers remained convinced of the feasibility of their endeavor, and largely blamed the end of the program on the opposing scientists rather than flaws in their own technology. Most of the Westford dipoles re-entered Earth's atmosphere sometime around 1970, according to theoretical and observational evidence. The needles slowly drifted down to the Earth's surface, unscathed by re-entry because of their size. Some consideration was given to recovering one or more of the dipoles in order to learn more about the space environment. Calculations showed that as many as 5 dipoles would have landed per square kilometer in the high Arctic. But the exceptional cost of recovering these tiny needles from the haystack of billions of tons of Arctic snow killed off any practical attempts at recovery. Back in space, the failed 1961 spacecraft and some larger clumps of the 1963 dipoles remain in orbit like so many other pieces of space junk, silently carrying the long-dead hopes of this nearly forgotten experiment.